Maria Lemming, and I'm going to be summarizing Chapter 11 of Conversion and its Fallout by Murray Sidman. And Chapter 11 is titled Neurosis and Mental Illness. And we need to know that sometimes avoiding a punishment may get in the way of day-to-day living. And Sidman goes on to talk about these defense mechanisms that we're using against coercion in order to avoid coercive events. And he does state that neurosis is a vast umbrella term. It could have many different causes, but coercion needs to be looked at as one possibility. So he starts off talking about phobias, and phobias are based on two main observations: actions that do not occur, and then actions that occur more than normal. So take the case of somebody who is crowd phobic. They will not go into theaters, crowded restaurants, sporting events, and that's what does not occur. And then they will do things more than normal, such as they see a crowded elevator, they turn around and run. That's not what we would expect normally. Psychiatrists talk about phobias being used in order to avoid anxiety, and we do have physical symptoms of anxiety, such as elevated heart rate, upset stomach, heavy breathing, sweaty palms. But Sidman says these could be attributed to other things. Anxiety is, of course, mentalistic, and we do have some natural reasons why we would have those physical symptoms. Now, behavior analysts do not worry about why a behavior is occurring. We look at the environment, we treat the condition based on antecedents and consequences. And Sidman says for phobias, people are avoiding that situation. They're never going to know that whatever shock originally occurred does not lie in those situations anymore. And until we can slowly get them to join into those situations, they'll never see that shock is not still present. So that's the treatment for those types of situations. He goes on to talk about another defense mechanism called reaction formation, and that's when we have a repressed behavior and we replace it with the opposite behavior. So a kid who gets unfairly punished by his mother, he knows he's supposed to love his mother. He knows when he does show love and affection to his mother that good things happen, and here she is unfairly punishing him. So he doesn't feel or react, doesn't want to react in an affectionate way, but he does, because he knows that therein lies some positive reinforcement for him. So we behave opposite of how we want to behave. Sublimation is the next mechanism that we use to avoid coercion. We find a socially acceptable way to behave instead of a socially unacceptable way to behave. So rather than hitting others in my workroom at school, maybe I go join the football team, or maybe I watch football on TV, or maybe I join a wrestling team. So it allows that behavior to occur, but in a socially acceptable way. Projection is the next mechanism that Sidman discusses, and that's where we deny that behavior within ourselves, but we find that quality in others. So we're avoiding that self-awareness of something that we don't want to see. So we see our bad behavior, though, in the others, not in ourselves, even though we have that behavior. So in the cartoon, the mother is saying, I hate myself, and then she turns to her daughter and says, I hate you. I think a good example would be the mother not liking her weight. She has a problem with her weight, and she turns to her daughter and says, oh, you're fat. Moving on, displacement is another mechanism Murray Sidman discusses, where we direct our problem behavior to someone who is not able to punish us. We're avoiding punishment for that behavior. So I had a horrible day at school. I come home and I kick my dog when I'm angry. And that kicking the dog is the behavior that I can engage in, and I'm not going to get punished because the dog is not going to punish me. The next mechanism is regression. I'm avoiding things in regression, and that would be like an adult acting like a kid, or a kid acting like an infant. So here is the example that really hit home with me. Say you have a college student, like me, who goes off to college, like me, and he or she doesn't want to engage anymore in that competitiveness. He competing for grades, competing for friends, competing for books at the library, whatever it might be. So the kid decides to come home and stay at home while he goes to community college. They're avoiding that contingency of competition in the college life. So I have that going on. The next one is obsessions and compulsions. We do something safe, so we don't have to do something dangerous. We're avoiding that, what we perceive as dangerous activity. So, as the picture there, you see somebody washing their hands. I'm washing my hands, so I don't have to deal with my family. And in the book, it talked about a woman who had a family, and she developed a compulsion to wash her hands. Every time she touched the kids, every time she touched her husband, every time she did any kind of chore, she had to go wash her hands. And what it did was it helped her avoid engaging with her family and with the things that had to be done around the house. So as a behavior analyst, we want to look at what are the consequences, what are the punishments in the environment that led her to want to avoid. Conversion disorder. This is where we convert stress into physical illness, hypochondria. So let's say that you want to avoid coercion within your life, so all of a sudden, I'm so sick. Sickness is not perceived as something the person can control, and there are a lot of social reinforcers that go along when you get sick. And it might not even be a conscious thing that people do. Your body can physically react to those types of situations. Now, I thought it was interesting, Sidman went on to say, sometimes, if the coercion being avoided is not greater than the disorder that has been, converted from the stress, the person gets kind of trapped. And Sidman says that maybe that's where faith healers and miracle healing come in. That person is feeling trapped. Now somebody's laying hands on me. Oh, it's my chance. I can all of a sudden have a miracle and get better. I thought that was kind of an interesting thought. The next mechanism that Sidman goes on to talk about is kind of a trilogy here. Amnesia, fugue, and multiple personality. So people with amnesia, and he does say you have to make sure there's been no head trauma, there's no biological, physiological reason. You can look and see. But if people just all of a sudden forget periods of time in their past, it may be that they're trying to avoid social, a time that was socially embarrassing or a time that was socially unpleasant, an unpleasant time. They'll forget those events in time. Fugue, which I thought was kind of interesting. I forget my location. And I guess this does happen. People just wander off and go to a whole new town or city or state, and they pick their lives up. And then sometimes they come back to their original families when the stressors in that new life get to where they want to avoid. Then they'll come back to their families. These are conversion disorder, amnesia, fugue, multiple personality. These are all medically diagnosed, and so the family members are using these types of behaviors where they normally wouldn't. Multiple personality. I forget myself. Right now, I am very controlling and very intelligent, and without any reason, I might become very dependent upon you and very childlike, and then the next thing, I might be kind of a wild woman for no apparent reason. So they are avoiding themselves, really. And so Sidman says, in all of these circumstances, we want to look at what the punishers are that brought these behaviors on. And then Sidman goes on to say, what is abnormal? Here's a quote, direct quote from page 180 of Sidman's book, Coercion and its Fallout. Behavioral breakdown is a direct outcome of normal control processes. And so there are many factors at play when we look at neurosis and mental illness, but we need to look at avoidance of coercion as one. We can look at the laws of coercive control to help us determine treatment. And we also need to remember the diversity of this world. Communities give standards are diverse. And so what is normal exactly? Something that's normal in a prison certainly wouldn't be considered normal in my little small town of Montauk, Virginia, which behavior here certainly wouldn't be considered normal in Los Angeles. So we need to define what is normal, and then we need to ask ourselves, should we squelch things like creativity or superior performance? Because those clearly are not normal as they're defined. Well, we don't want to squelch those things. So in order to determine what is not normal and what is problem behavior, we really need to think about community safety. Child molester? That's not normal, and that is not safe for children. People who are socially aggressive, physically aggressive in crowds. Not normal, not safe. Can't have that. We also need to make value judgments. And so all of these things have me really wondering, here's the question, it's coming. I want you to think about the 8 defense mechanisms that Sidman referred to. And I want you to think, have you or maybe somebody you know employed any of these defense mechanisms due to avoidance? I'd like you to recount the situation and then explain how do you think it was an act of avoidance. Thanks for listening. Have a great night.